What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And this one, I'm going to break down what's going on with Tesla stock and what you should be watching for going forward. I'm also going to talk about the overall market and some very, very important levels to watch for and what data is coming out later on today. Before breaking things down about all these different tickers to talk about Tesla stock, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. Anyways, let's talk about the market, what's going on right now. So Tesla is currently holding above this $280 level of support. So far, it's looking quite nice as the market's continuing to hold up. But I do have to warn you guys that in just a couple of hours, at about 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, we have the FOMC minutes coming out. And the economic optimism report's about to come out right now. So let me just reload this. I think it's just about to come out. It should be coming out anytime soon. But anyways, the FOMC minutes is going to be the bigger thing at 2 o'clock p.m. So make sure you guys are ready and prepared for that. That's going to be one of the biggest things for the trading week. And what comes out from this is going to be giving us more insights from the Fed. Now, for the time being, all right, Tesla's holding up quite nicely. It's still looking pretty decent. But I do want to warn you guys, right? We did have these bearish signals that were developing on Tesla, but for now, there's no confirmation of Tesla truly cooling off a bit. So for that reason, we don't have any confirmation of Tesla like dropping a bit, so we should not assume it's going to happen just yet. We have to wait for any pieces of confirmation. But so far, Tesla's holding up quite nicely. So here are some levels to really look out for on the smaller time frames in case you want to scalp this or watch it. So if Tesla were to break down, we have our nice support in this 280 to 280.25 area. Watch this zone very, very carefully. This is holding up Tesla for the time being. If it breaks below that, watch 277.68, 276.82, then 275 as major supports. Just watch those carefully just in case. And if Tesla tries to continue to break out, we have resistance very close to this 283 zone, specifically around 282.94, around that area. Those are going to be some levels to watch for. If it breaks above that, we could see 285 on Tesla. For now, read the trend and look at what this is currently doing. So far, it's holding up nicely. There's no sign of it breaking down just yet. But I just want to warn you all, okay, if you are scalping, if you're day trading, if you're trying to do anything like that, make sure that you are very careful, because what I'm personally going to do, and I'm not giving any financial advice when I say this, but that is securing profits on options before the FOMC minutes come out, because we don't know what that's going to cause. That might cause some downside. You got to be very careful. That could lead to more volatility in these markets. So we'll just have to wait and see on that. But anyways, when it comes to Tesla, it's still kind of like chopping around a bit. So watch this carefully. We will see what happens moving forward. There's no true confirmation of this thing breaking down yet. I want to warn you guys about that too. There's also no confirmation of Tesla like squeezing insanely high just yet. But I want to warn you guys about one more thing. I predict that Tesla is going to run up to $300 as we approach earnings, or maybe like a little bit after earnings. Somewhere around there, I do think Tesla's going to make its way up here over the next week or so. But before that happens, it might see downside. There's a possibility of that. I want to warn you about that. Right before that happens, that we could see some downside on Tesla first, depending on the FOMC minutes. That's just a warning. It's not a guarantee. It's just something I want to note. But like I said before, for the short term, yes, it could happen because of the bearish divergence that was developing. But for the medium term, for the next week or two, as we approach earnings over the next few weeks, I could see Tesla push up to $300 as we approach earnings. I could see that happen as well. Okay, so for now, we'll just watch it very carefully and be very careful. Expect some volatility at 2 o'clock p.m. And other than that, let's now talk about the other tickers. For SPY, this thing ended up gapping down a bit, and now it's trying to hold up, so it has some potential for upside. If you look at it, the gap was all the way where this like 444 area is. We're getting very close to filling this gap, and we have a bullish divergence on SPY, so this thing could pump a little bit more, make its way up to like 444 or so, and then start to cool off, depending on the FOMC minutes. If it does hit that area, may get a slight, rejection, a slight cool off before it tries to continue further. But for now, let's just watch this very carefully. So far, there's no confirmation of a break in either direction just yet. Truly, we do have a break to the upside from these low points, but I mean like getting above 444. We haven't really broken that resistance yet, and if we do break that, we could be seeing this thing get close to 446 and potentially even like 450 later on. But if this thing continues to slow down, you're going to be watching support at 442.89 and then 442 flat, And below that, we're going to be watching 440 as the next major support zone. So watch these levels very, very carefully. For now, SPY is holding up. It looks like it's on its way to fill this gap up here. It wants to go up to like these higher levels first. But then don't forget, 2 o'clock p.m., things could change depending on what the FOMC minutes bring. Now, for the triple Q, this is looking very nice in my opinion. On the 4-hour time frame, I think this is a good one we could use. This thing has a very nice looking inverse head and shoulder structure. As it continues to push up, we have this 372.8 resistance all the way up here. So watch that very carefully. We could make our way all the way up here, in my opinion, because we're very close to finishing this inverse head and shoulder, and it looks like it wants to go all the way up here first. So once again, it looks pretty strong right now. There's no true sign of this thing breaking down. But if it does cool off, you're going to be watching support at 370, 368, 366, and the mid 360s, which will, if those all fail, it's going to come all the way down to where our major support is around that 363 area. And below that, I could see 360. But for now, it hasn't done that. It's still holding up nicely and has potential to go all the way up to this like 372 zone, which is where we have the start of this inverse head and shoulder resistance. We could see that. I think I'm leaning more in that direction. It looks more bullish so far. If you look at the 4-hour candle, it looks quite nice. If you look at the 15 minutes time frame, also looking quite strong. For now, it has more potential for upside, but like I said before, be very careful with the data dropping a little bit later. Nvidia is holding up, but it's kind of flat right now, not doing too much. But what's good about it is on the 4-hour, I think the 4 hour is what I use, or we could just use the 1 hour. Nice inverse head and shoulder structure, getting very close to this resistance. But could this thing dip first because of the FOMC minutes then start pushing up, or is it just going to try to hold up? That's up to you to decide, depending on what the data tells us once all that information comes out. But for now, like I said, it looks more solid. I don't know if it's going to dip first because of FOMC and then start pushing, but we'll just wait and see. But overall, I think ultimately it's going to make its way up closer to like 440. Looks quite nice over there. Besides that, I'm just going to briefly go over just a couple of these. Apple's kind of flat right now, but still holding up quite nicely. Hasn't really tanked that hard. We were anticipating downside on Apple in our previous video, and as you can see, Apple did come down to about this 190 support. But now it's trying to rebound just a little bit. It is getting close to filling this gap, and we might just see some very sideways price action on it. But if it tries to break out, you're going to be watching resistance around this 193.75 area, then potentially 195. Then 196 flat also has some resistance. If it continues to drop down, a break below this support at 191.66 will take this thing down to 190. And if that fails us, there's even more support all the way down, like around the 188.75 area, 187.5, and etc. But for now, I think it's going to be very sideways. I'm not seeing a ton happening to Apple for the time being until we get more data and things like that. Other than that, we have one winner today, another big winner, that's Meta. One of the things I told you guys about was this resistance on Meta. There wasn't really a confirmation of a direction, as I told you guys before, but we did have this resistance zone. Let me bring this back up. This 290 area has been so stubborn for Meta for the past few weeks. It's been getting rejected over and over again. We had this bullish triangle-like structure. If we broke this would be very bullish for them, and we would likely see this thing get closer to 300. That's what happened to Meta. That's what I told you before, and that is what happened today. It actually broke above resistance. Very, very strong break for Meta. It looks very, very nice. And for support, I mean, for now, we're not too worried about that. But if it does end up coming down, the 290 area is going to be some important support now, depending on the data that drops. But other than that, it's looking very strong and solid. So with that said, thank you all so much for listening. Please have an absolutely spectacular day and watch your levels very carefully. For Tesla, it's still holding up. It's still doing all right. So don't worry too much about it for the time being. For now, just be patient, and we're going to wait and see what happens with the FOMC minutes. And don't forget, it's not a bad idea to secure profits on options. I'm not referring to shares, just options. Secure profits when the time is right, and just watch these levels carefully. Now Tesla's below 280, so the next support we're going to be watching for is around that 277 area. We'll see how it goes from there. But so far, things aren't looking that bad. All right, so thank you for listening. Have a great, great, great day, guys. I'll see you guys very soon, and peace out.